Hey everybody, today we're going to talk about how to gain and use experience in Numenera in 5 minutes or less. Alright, so gaining experience is the name of the game, and we do that in two different ways. Number one of the quotes from the book, "Discovery is the soul of Numenera," which very directly translates to discoveries equal experience. Alright, so instead of fighting monsters, you want to get out there and you want to find new artifacts. You want to learn new stuff. You want to discover new languages. You also want to create goals for your players and your party, and you want to accomplish those goals. Go discover El Dorado. Do whatever else you need to. Discovery is how you're going to get most of the experience in this game, so get used to it. The second way we gain experience is through a method called GM Intrusions. Now, these have kind of a bad rap right now. A lot of people think it means something like GM makes you fail and die by intruding, but it doesn't. The GM is there to make the story more interesting, more dynamic, and give people extra choices. Let me give you an example of a GM intrusion that you may recognize right here. All right, Steven Spielberg did not introduce the boulder to kill Indiana Jones. It was simply to make the escape more dramatic, more exciting. He wanted to heighten the tension of the scene, and he also wanted to provide some extra challenge for his hero to overcome. And that's what GM intrusions are. So when they happen to you, think about them that way. It's not the GM out to get you, it's the GM who wants to create a more dynamic story, but still one that's within your capabilities. Let me give you an example of how a GM intrusion works. We have our GM, and we also have a pair of characters. Now, say the GM is going to present our glaive with the boulder trap. All right? When the GM does that, they present 2 experience points, and that's kind of like the bribe so that the glaive is interested in this intrusion. Then the glaive has the opportunity to either accept or decline the intrusion. Let's go ahead and say that they accept. That means that the GM gets the boulder trap to happen, and the glaive is going to take these 2 experience, they're going to keep one of them, and they're going to pass the other one to another player for their interactions during the scene as well. All right? On the other hand, let's say our glaive is going to decline the intrusion. In that case, these experience are gone. They go back to the GM. The boulder trap doesn't happen, and because of that, the glaive also takes one of their own experience from their personal pool and has to give it to the GM as well. So you lose an experience by declining these intrusions. The GM should only intrude on a player once per session, but these are ways to dynamically change the story, and they give you experience. So I would suggest that you go ahead and let the GM intrude as long as it's something that's within your capabilities, something that you can do. It's going to be to your benefit to play a more dynamic story. All right, so now once we've got all this experience, what the heck do we do with it? There's a couple different things we can do. We can take some very immediate benefits, and like I just mentioned, you can use an experience to decline an intrusion. You can also use a single experience to reroll a die at any time and take the better result. Pretty useful. There's also some specific story benefits that you can get. Let's say you're climbing some mountains, and your character remembers that in their backstory they had some mountains very similar to this. So you want to gain specific skill training in climbing this type of mountains. That's going to cost you 2 experience, but that is now a permanent benefit to your character that you have and can pull out in other times. Let's say instead you want a contact, or you want an artifact, or you want a new job, or you want some wealth. That will take you 3 experience points, but again, gives you a permanent benefit. The full list of these things are in the core book on page 111. There's a ton of them. Do check them out. Finally, long-term benefits, what we think about as leveling up, or in Numenera, tier advancement. So tier advancement is pretty specific. In order to advance a tier, we have to do 4 things. And we can do this in any order we want, but we must do 4 things. Gain an effort. Gain an edge, can be any edge you want. Gain 4 pool points, and you can mix them up and put them in any pools you like. Finally, gain training in a skill. Or become specialized in a skill you're already trained in. Each of these costs you 4 points from your experience. And if those don't tickle your fancy, you can also choose from a list. That list is on the player's guide on page 13. Instead of doing one of those 4, you can choose something from that list. So the big question here becomes, how in the world do we maintain a balance between these 3 things, between immediate, story, and long-term benefits? And the way I am going to do it is I suggest that you should advance tiers, but you should also get these cool benefits. So I would go quarter, half would be my choice. That way you can still advance. If you're gaining 4 to 6 experience every session, you're still gaining one of those tier requirements every other session. Meanwhile, your character is becoming more interesting, and you're getting to affect the storyline as well. And don't forget, these aren't the only things you have on your side. Your character also should have a list of crazy ciphers and nutty artifacts that you're picking up along the way to give you new and unique abilities that you can use throughout the game. Thanks a lot for watching. Play Numenera, get out there and gain some experience.